Can someone please tell me what the hell is going on here?
Hello, I'm your SMPV and here we are discussing the details of what we cow about the Resident Evil franchise's latest game, Resident Evil Village. This includes a depth insight of the Resident Evil Village, trailers, gameplay, the maiden demo and other resources like the images and maps released by Capcom in official. On January 21, 2021, the Resident Evil Showcase appeared and Capcom showed us some insights and new information about the new game, which includes the maiden demo, that players get to play it exclusively on the PS5. I got more excited and hyped as I had played the demo, and here are the breakdowns, speculations,
Let's break
and
it
predictions
down,
on the
shall
game.
we? So we finally
Resident Evil Village and how the game will connect the entire history of Resident Evil world in a single point. Now, a sequel to Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, Resident Evil Village takes place a few years later and continues to follow the story of Ethan Winters. He and his wife Mia living peacefully with their child, in a new location, apparently under the protection of the BSAA. They are trying to live in peace. But like all time in the horror universe, tragedy befalls on them. That the same BSAA who gave protection to them under the command of Chris Redfield, the captain of the BSAA team, attacks them, and in footage it seems that Chris Redfield actually kills Mia Winters and kidnaps their daughter, named as Rosemary Winters. Therefore, Ethan Winters is in chase of his daughter, which leads him to an isolated village, in the middle of Eastern Europe, probably Romania, because the name of the big lady Alcina Dimitrescu sounds Romanian.
Castle Bell heralds danger. The bell tolls for us all. They're coming again.
So, why would Chris Redfield do that? Chris Redfield is one of the mainstays of the Resident Evil franchise. He is a former STARS agent and is from the beginning of the virus outbreak incident. Saved the world on numerous occasions, and in the last few entries, working for the BSAA, directly. He descends from a helicopter at the end of Resident Evil 7. Bearing the blue umbrella symbol that has been created to clean up mess made by the original Red Umbrella Corporation, which is actually behind all of this mess. But actually, is it? They are the good guys, in other words. So, it doesn't make sense that they would have turned on a family that they have placed under protection. But, something is different about Chris, this time. The new art released by Capcom shows that he does not went only rogue, but also turned into something like a werewolf or something. This can be speculated, as with the face, the base of his collector's edition statue, there is a werewolf figurine. For reference, the previous collector's edition of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes has Leon and Jill standing on top of the RPD and STARS logo respectively. It could mean werewolf lineage, it could mean werewolf alliance, or it could mean that he just became a werewolf and a shadow of his own past. But one thing is sure, that Chris always has a plan.
They're coming. Who is?
Is Ethan's daughter Rosemary important to him, or is it planned to bring Ethan Winters himself? I mean, what advantage a guy like Ethan has really over the trained operative personnel of the BSAA, Chris Redfield? Did Chris took the baby knowing that Ethan would follow him? Is it why? Because Ethan has been already exposed to a bioweapon strain? Or is the face that his wife Mia was exposed to the E-type strain of the virus? And, since they have a child, one that might be incubating a virus, and is mutated even further. Now, keeping these questions aside, we had to ask ourselves that what it had to do with a village, in the Eastern Europe, where the villagers are prone to ancient rituals, occults, and gothic monsters like vampires, lycans, witches, trolls and monsters. To break this down, we need to actually focus on this image in the official site of Resident Evil Village. It consists of 4 crescents with respective house names, which also contains the Umbrella Corporation logo, on the both ends and at the center. And there is a strange symbol, at the center of the crest that looks like a pillar or a portal of something. These 4 symbols are labeled as House Dimitrescu, House Heisenberg, House Moreau, and House Beneviento. This seems to be a little poster, but after seeing the Resident Evil showcase and playing the Resident Evil Village maiden demo, the symbols makes some sense now. Let fans immerse themselves in the castle of Alcina Dimitrescu, the internet's now beloved big vampire lady. Players take on the role of a maiden who is trying to break free from the horrors of the castle. From what's established in the demo, the Dimitrescu family has a lot of money, but they aren't the only family players will need to be wary of if the mural inside the castle depicting 4 family crests is any indication of what's to come. So, let's take a look at all these 4 houses. At first comes House Dimitrescu. Alcina is the only Dimitrescu Resident Evil fans know by name at this point, but she does have daughters who clearly possess some sort of supernatural, otherworldly power. Resident to an Eastern European country, she inherited Castle Dimitrescu, a fortress controlled by the family since its medieval inception. Or for at least 70 years between the 1950s and 2020s she was tied to a series of violent homicides. Dimitrescu is known to live with 3 women whom she considers her daughters. The maiden trailer gives a bit more insight into the Dimitrescu wine production. Hint, it's why fans are calling Alcina the big vampire lady, and lets players get a little too up close in encounters with her daughters. One of which even bites the player's neck as they try to escape the castle. The Dimitrescu family crest features swords, a shield, and what looks like flowers growing over it, which may be a nod to the family wine business. Dimitrescu's origins are presently a mystery, in particular the questions of her age, and whether she was born with a progenitor disease or contracted it later. Like many others in the region, Dimitrescu was a follower of a satanic witch cult which practiced vampirism and human sacrifice, possibly for sustenance. She was already regularly engaging in vampirism in the 1950s, and had successfully mutated 3 women by 1958, one of them being Daniela. The Dimitrescu family was closely associated with the noble Beneviento, Moreau, and Heisenberg families, and maintained an alliance with them in controlling the region. This control allowed Dimitrescu's family to rule their castle with barbarous cruelty, regularly taking in new staff to replace those who were taken to the dungeon to be killed. The blood of their victims was used to create an enriched red wine called Sanguis Virginis, Latin for maiden's blood. Dimitrescu appears when the maiden unlocks the door to the courtyard in an attempt to escape. She stops the maiden from leaving, remarking how nice it is to finally meet them before grasping them around the throat. Dimitrescu then bears a set of gigantic retractable claws from her hand and spears the maiden at the end. Her last name, Dimitrescu, is a name of Greek origin, though using the Slavic version, with a Romanian patronym, Escu, so the name would be translated as son of Demeter. Demeter is a Slavic rendering of the Greek name Demetrius, which means follower of Demeter, Demeter being the Greek goddess of the harvest and the fertility of the earth. The name is ironic because of the many serial killings Alcina commits and that she harvests virgin females for their blood. And her daughters has also the ability to turn into and control swarms of insects, similar to Margaret Baker in Resident Evil 7. The symbol of this house Dimitrescu, glimpsed in the crest, on walls, wine bottles, on doors, and even on the lady itself resembles a flower. And it makes a tiny resemblance to the stairway of the sunflowers in Resident Evil 5. This resemblance of the plant in Africa, that has been cultivated for the progenitor virus, may take the history of the virus to an ancient past. Is it possible that this flower or a similar kind of flower may be related to the Dimitrescu family and they do even draw powers from this? Now let's take a look at the other crests. The second one is House Heisenberg. Heisenberg does not have a full name that's been revealed yet, but I am speculating that the man in the sunglasses and hat will most likely be Heisenberg. Through some dialogue in a recently released trailer, Lady Dimitrescu hints at having familial ties to Heisenberg.
Mother Miranda, I regret to inform you that Ethan Winters has escaped that fool Heisenberg.
Calling him her little brother in an encounter with Ethan Winters.
You escaped my little brother's idiot games, did you?
However, they may not be related by blood if he's supposedly a lycanthrope, a werewolf, and she dabbles in more bloodthirsty activities. Heisenberg's family crest has a horseshoe with electricity coming out of it, which coincides with the trailer that shows him wielding otherworldly electric levitation powers. And here in the footage, it looks like he and Ethan are gearing up for a boss fight, and when seeing the big guy with a hammer in the presentation, it is confirmed that they are the same family. So, considering these, we can say that Lady Dimitrescu represents vampires and Heisenberg represents Lycans or werewolves family. We can confirm it by overlooking at the map that a bat is shown at Castle Dimitrescu, and a wolf-like creature is near the Heisenberg's factory. We can come to that map later. Now, the third house is House Moreau. According to the Resident Evil Village map, the Moreau family has control of the reservoir and the house crest has a mermaid on it. Clearly, these are nods to the family having explicit ties to the water that flows throughout the village, as the reservoir feeds into the rivers and lakes. Not much else is known about the Moreau family, but if each family is set to have their own monster, and players can bet that this family will surely be water-themed, perhaps a siren, as suggested by the family crest, or something even more sinister. And the last house, Beneviento, is another family that's had little revealed about them. The Beneviento family crest depicts a half-sun, half-moon emblem with wind flowing through it. The sun and moon has been represented already in the older games, and their home seems to be overlooking the whole village, placed higher in the sky than the other family residences. If this is any indication of what their monster will be, there's a good chance we'll be able to fly based on the hints given with the crest and house location. But anyway, whenever we see the crest in the game, we can understand that the four houses are somehow connected with the Umbrella logo. But how? How they can be? It is said that the Umbrella Corporation was created by Dr. Oswell E. Spencer, the Earl Spencer, Dr. Edward Ashford, 5th Earl Ashford, and Dr. James Marcus, who were university classmates, but this crest seems to be much older than generations. So, now we know that these people are pawn in hands, or they must have stolen the formula for the progenitor virus from the village, and Chris Redfield is leading Ethan to the main core of the whole virus birth. And as fans, we are eager to know why the Umbrella Corporation was really created, or borrowed from an ancient one. Now, this turns our views on the mysterious ceremony that was mentioned by Lady Alcina to a person known as Mother Miranda in this scene. Now, who is this person so-called Mother Miranda? Is she the matriarch shown at the trailer, or an entirely separate person, or maybe the person behind this voice?
The bell tolls for us all. They're coming again.
In that talk, she actually mentions that they are coming again. Who are they? And why are they coming? Are they coming to the ceremony? Or for what purpose? Only time will tell us. There are already vampires and werewolves known as Lycans in the universe, and there seems to be more, such as trolls, goblins, witches, or maybe even dragons. Now, coming into the speculation that why a child is being marked as an important character. So, Resident Evil has a brief history of making children as hosts of deadly virus strains, or with an evil intent. Trevor, Sherry Birkin, Natalia in Resident Evil Revelations, Valken in Resident Evil 7, and an entire network of child experiments going on in the newly added orphanage sequence in Resident Evil 2 Remake. Clearly, evil organizations and cults believe in children to be the perfect conduits for these bioweapons, or maybe it's a practice going on the inception of Umbrella. This symbol that shows up on every screenshots, trailers, and gameplays have a very significant place in the game. That has been said by the Resident Evil team, that the symbol is very important in knowing of the whole situation. It looks like a certain type of mutated fetus surrounded by bird wings. But could it also be the original Umbrella logo, or where the design for the Umbrella logo came from? So, it is confirmed that the game focuses on the origin of the Umbrella Corporation that predates the Spencer family, and it adds a classic horror theme where we deal with four ancient, mysterious families that were contoured in one point of time, in the Resident Evil timeline. Maybe something to be pondered over different viral strains, at least. All that aside, Resident Evil Village looks very impressive, which quite resembles the Resident Evil 4 much more. It has the similar village looks and then entering the castle, and it also has a merchant called the Duke. According to Capcom, this merchant will show up in specific places similar to the merchant in the RE4. He has guns, gunpowders, healing items, ammo, etc., and pieces of garlic too. And it signs like our reputation precedes us.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winters.
How do you know my name?
Anyone who is anyone has heard of the likes of you.
Echoing our thirst even more. It brings back the traditional inventory case. So, ready for the perfect symmetrical case for you to carry more of your things and crafted items, as an added bonus. Thanks to Capcom that, it has brought back some older Resident Evil traditions, and seems like each part of the village will be divided according to the family crests, and being each family, there will be a memorable boss character. While Village isn't due out until May 2021, gamers can at least finally get a peep into the new world of Lady Dimitrescu and her vampire daughters. But there was one item that players could pick up in the demo that seemed to have a lot of mystery surrounding it, the necklace. In Maiden, players can interact with a pretty limited number of rooms and items. As a visual showcase, the demo does display the graphics and quality of the game with little in the way of gameplay or scares. It brings back the new playstyle of Resident Evil 7's duck and block kind of play instead of reverting back to the action-packed style of the older, post-Re 3 games. It feels incredibly different from Re 7 while still maintaining the same quality, spooky visuals, and gory, first-person views. Another thing that this demo has in common with the last game is the unusable demo item. In the Resident Evil 7 demo, there was a finger that players could interact with, but could not use. The finger was the #1 mystery of the Resident Evil 7 demo, as it couldn't be used until the full game. There, it was a piece of a puzzle. Here, in this visual showcase for Resident Evil Village, players get a bone necklace that is a creepy reminder of finger puzzle from Re 7. The necklace in its description text makes it clear that the necklace belonged to the narrator through the demo. They somehow became a prisoner in the castle Dimitrescu as a future meal for the giant, 8-foot-tall vampire matron lady of the house. This person works to solve the puzzles that will get them out of this place, picking up every item, looking through every drawer, and using every item they find, except the necklace. The necklace is made of animal bone and corded with what looks like perhaps a natural string, like leather or rope. It also features several dark green beads that bear some resemblance to simple, Heishi-type Native American beads. Since the necklace is meant to be a charm against evil, it could have ancient religious or cultural significance to the narrator. Outside of this, there's really not much to go on. During the Maiden demo, there are several hints that maids are not well treated in the castle Dimitrescu. One is slashed in the face, for example, while the writer of the journal entries made a mistake when opening a window and fears she'll be the next maid that's thrown into the basement. And considering that the #1 delicacy created by this house of empowered all-female Re 8 winemakers is called Maiden's Blood Wine, and comes in an ornate bottle decorated with silver flowers, the maid might have been afraid that it was her blood that next ferments into this ghoulish wine. There is one more grisly hint that points to the playable maiden being in their next batch of Sanguis Virginis, the list of candidates on the front room table. It seems clear that this is for the new batch of maiden wine, which would most likely make the narrator one of the top 3 names. This hints that the selection process for choosing the right blood for making wine is a big deal at the castle Dimitrescu. The biggest mystery that may tie into the necklace, its wearer, and the wine-making horror that is happening in the castle is a detail dropped in Lady Dimitrescu's greeting to the main character of the demo. As she walks into the doorway from the courtyard, which the narrator was hoping to escape from, she says, "So we finally meet." This massive vampire matron has not met the main character yet, and was looking forward to it. There's a possibility that her name was moved to the top of the candidate list for bleeding out into Sanguis Virginis casks. This would mean that not only has Lady Dimitrescu not been in the castle during the entirety of the mystery main character's stay, but it's also another hint that the maid who wrote the journal entries and the main character are not the same person. The writer of the journal makes it clear that she has met the mistress of house, and the 8-foot-tall vampire matron promised to not bite her. Before Resident Evil Village is released in May 2021, players will get a second viewing of the terrifying castle Dimitrescu. On Capcom's official Resident Evil 8 page, there is a message near the bottom of the main image that states, "This demo is only available on PlayStation 5. Another demo will be released on all platforms in spring 2021. That means that this graphical showcase was just the beginning of Resident Evil's next-gen survival horror playable teasers. Players have yet another demo to look forward to. We may learn more about the maiden who was presumably sacrificed by Lady Dimitrescu for her next cask of Maiden's Blood Wine. Hopefully in the upcoming demo, players get a better idea of what the ceremony is that Ethan is slated to be part of as per the new Re 8 teaser trailer, or perhaps players will get a glimpse at who Mother Miranda is. But more than likely, the story of this poor woman's death and her strange bone talisman won't be fully resolved until the game releases. It's nice to see the variety of characters and bosses that are associated with the family. You have small Leekins and bigger werewolves. You have huge werewolves and witches, and sexy vampires and transformable ones. Anyway, we are in for a good time and not be concerned for the ladies, that we can have fear and love at the same time. So, that's all for the video. If you like my reviews, breakdowns, speculations and predictions, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and click the bell notification icon. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments and, until then, goodbye.
So we finally meet.